today we are going to be looking into a poem which is none other than Television, written by Roald Dahl. So generally, I don't feel like talking about the writers because no questions asked generally. So if you people want to have any kind of information about the writer and also you can go and have information about all these writers, poets on your own. So hi there, this is Ritu Tamret and you're watching my channel Literature with Ritu. And if yet you have not subscribed to my channel, so please subscribe to it, and also don't forget to press on the bell icon so that you could get all the regular updates of all my videos. Nevertheless, today I would like to dedicate 2 or 3 lines about the writers, or want to dedicate 2 or 3 lines to the poet for that matter. Otherwise, I mean, the poet is going to give me a lot of dreams which are like gonna be so spooky and sinister. So okay, so Roald Dahl is one of the most prolific modern writers in English and widely known as the author of children only. So in this poem also, the bard, again it has come, the bard emphasizes the ill effects of watching television, especially on kids. So it's not talking about obviously the ill effects on the elder ones. He's talking about only kids. And also here in this poem, the poet has tried to put across the whole poem in rather a comic way, and he has taken to a very humorous way to put forward a very serious problem among today's children, in the sense that, I mean, this was not there. I mean, this was not the case with the children a few decades back as such. So okay, let's start with the poem, the next part of the poem, which is, I think, up to here we have already done. Yes, seas, up to seas we have already done, and we are going to start from all right. Fine. Actually, the poet has written this poem in rather a question answer form, in which he is asking the questions, and it is none other than he himself who is giving the answers also. So here you can see, uh, yes, here see the question mark in the first part of the poem. I have already, I mean, explained it. So question mark, and again here he has given the answer of it. So again he is saying, we have to start it from here, all right. So again he is saying that, after he is requesting the parents that they should, uh, keep the television away from their children, and many more things in the first part of all these things I have explained in the first part of the television, which is obviously there in, I mean, in my YouTube videos. So you can go and watch first that first video before this, and you will be able to understand all these things what I'm talking about right now. So so writer is asking the parents to keep the children away from television, like he doesn't want parents to, I mean, let their children watch television all the time in any way. And after that, he knows that children will also be affected. They will, I mean, have a killing look towards their parents, as if in case their parents do anything of this kind to them. And of course, parents will also have question as to what they will do actually if their children are without television. In that case, what they're gonna do? I mean, this question is also being put up by the poet itself, himself rather, as to what the children are going to do if they are devoid of television. In that case, they will be left with no option by which they can recreate themselves, or they can, I mean, have some entertainment. Fine. And obviously, if we talk about this situation, in this situation of corona, and where, I mean, all the schools are closed and children are all along in their houses, closed from the four sides. And in that case, if children are kept away from television or mobiles, and in that case they will go mad, they will go crazy. So I mean, okay, let's talk about this poem. Let's not get diverted. So here the poet is asking the question also, and he himself is giving the answer. So he is asking, or he is saying all these things on behalf of the parents. So let's see what he is telling. All right, you will cry. All right, you will say, but if we take the set away, what shall we do to entertain our darling children? Please explain. So this is the part obviously said by the poet, but this is on behalf of the parents as to what their darling children will do if the television set is away from them. So we'll answer by this question. As I have already told you here, the questioner is the poet, and the one who is giving the answer is also none other than the poet himself. So here he is giving the answer of this question. So let's move it. Why it is not going? Okay. So what shall we will answer this by asking you. So once again the poet wants to give the answer to this question only with the again with the help of a question. What used the darling ones to do? How used they keep themselves contented before this monster was invented? So again he's putting up a question to the parents in order to make them understand actually the scenario when there was no television invented in their times, when there was no television in the scenario. So in that case, what children used to do? There was no television in the scenario. So was it that all the time children would wish to have television? Otherwise, there is nothing in this world that they can entertain themselves. Was it the case? No, this was not the case. So what the children at that time, a few decades back, children used to do. So let's see what they used to do. How they keep themselves contented. Contented means satisfied. Before this monster was, have you forgotten? Don't you know? We will say it very loud and slow. They used to read. They read and sorry. They used to read up to here, and after that they would read, and read and read, then proceed. That means the poet here is emphasizing the importance of reading the books, because in their times there was no television. Obviously the poet is talking about that situation, that time, those times. There was no television. So in that case, uh, children used to read a lot of things. Children used to read a lot of books, obviously. So this is how the question, this is how the poet rather gives the answer of this question put up by the parents. So let's go to the next page. So what is the answer in the what is the answer to the question made by the parents, or what is the answer after the parents start making a lot of hue and cry? You could write, start making a lot of commotion, uproar, outcry over the issue. So mind you, all these things you could write in your answers, that parents will start making a lot of commotion, uproar, outcry over the issue as to what they will give their children for their engagements, how they could amuse their little ones, or how they could delight their little ones in case the television is kept away from their sight, or from their reach. So what answer has been given by the writer, or the poet rather? The poet says that in their times there were a lot of books which the children used to read, and that's the thing the writer also would like to suggest to the parents, that they should give books to their children so that they could have the knowledge of these books. So here the poet is I mean, short of giving emphasis on the importance of the books and reading them. Okay, so let's do the next lines. To read some more, great Scott Gadzooks, one half their lives was reading books, the the nursery shelves had books galore. Okay, so what does that mean? Great Scott and Gadzooks. These are some of the expressions of surprising, because the poet is so surprised, saying that the lives of the children a few decades back was, they used to read a lot of books. They passed the half of their lives reading only books, which was quite, something which sounds impractical, but this was the fact, because there was no television at that time. So people used to read a lot of books. Okay, the nursery shelves were held books galore, and the shelves which children had got at that time was strewn with a lot of different kinds of books. Here, galore means in abundance. That means the nursery shelves were having so many books in abundance. Okay, so books cluttered up the nursery floor. Obviously, when the shelves were having a lot of books, obviously some of them might have fallen down also. So, at that time, the poet is talking about, I think, a room of a child in those times, where the shelves were having a lot of books, and at the same time the whole nursery floor was also strewn with different kinds of books. And in the bedroom, by the bed, more books were waiting to be read. That means uh, they were reading books, of course, and there were many books which were yet to be read. That means their only work was to read and read and read, nothing more than that. Okay, so, and there were so many books that people always remained on the lookout for reading. Here the poet actually talks about different kinds of things which were quite amazing, and in the sense that they were so imaginative or insightful. So these tales were so wondrous, fine, and fantastic. So here, see what the poet has written. The poet has written, see, such wondrous, fine, fantastic tales of dragons, gypsies, queens, whales, and treasure easels, distant shores, where smugglers rowed with muffled oars, pirate wearing purple pants, sailing ships, elephants, and cannibals crouching round the pot, stirring away at something hot. I mean to say what I mean to say is, the poet has tried to picturize all those pretty imagination that the writers of these books, here the poet has talked about, used to portray. See here, the poet has so beautifully has tried to picturize all these dragons, gypsies, queens, whales, treasure easels, distant shores, where he has also tried to kind of like to draw a kind of picture where smugglers were there, and smugglers, pirates were pirates, like pirates were, on dacoits at sea routes, smugglers the same, who are uh, selling things to people overseas, and that too illegally. So these are called smugglers. Pirates same, so they are wearing purple pants. So he has tried to draw all these pictures so colorfully. So these things are so imaginative, like if children are in the habit of reading these things, then they will, or they're going to be so imaginative in their own way, comparative in comparison to the picture world, in comparison to the imaginative world which they are watching in the TV. So in the TV, whatever they are watching are all spoon fed, like in the sense that whatever they are watching are all ready over there. Okay, so all ready in the sense they are ready made. But here also there are some pictures. There are, the book is the book is not full of pictures, full of imagery. These things are written over there, and by reading all these things, all children can imagine these things which are written over here. And in the sense, or in the way, if they start imagining things in their mind, so it's a kind of making them imaginative themselves, rather than watching things which are imaginative in television. So let me tell you some meanings of these words. Like, I'm not supposed to tell you the meaning of these words also, but let me make my explanation more and more clearer. Clear rather. Let me give you the meanings of these words also. Dragons means you must have seen some mythological character like a giant reptile, that is dragon. Gypsies, I mean, kind of people who used to walk from one place to another. That means nomadic people, you must have read in your history book as well. Queens, whales, treasure easels, where I mean the treasure island, as short a few days ago I was reading one book where about the treasure island. I was one of my students, I was explaining this chapter to her, that island, I mean, these kinds of things were there. Like, you can well imagine these things after reading all these things in the book. So it's a kind of place where, some people have got some information. Okay, there is a lot of treasure hidden in that island, and we all of them have decided, or all of them had made a plan of reaching that island by, in a shape or something like that, and they have decided to go on this trip, this adventurous journey for that matter. So all these things, I mean, so interesting and imaginative. So obviously all these things are going to make your mind also quite imaginative rather. So distant shores, same meaning, because the shores which are at a high distance from your place where you are residing right now. Smugglers, muffling oars, I mean, these things I have told you. Selling ships, elephants, these are quite normal. Okay, now, okay, so it smells so good it can't be good gracious, it's Penlop. So here the writer is talking about some delicious non-veg food. So I'm not talking about that much. So up from here we'll talk about the younger ones had Beatrix. Now the writer has started talking about the children who were like a little younger than the I mean than the small ones, a little younger ones he has started talking about, because now he's going to talk about some of the writers like Beatrice Potter with Mr. Todd Dirty Rotter. Again, these all here, whatever is written, these are all characters portrayed by this writer Beatrix Potter. Beatrix Potter again was a very good writer of children. So he had written a lot of books on children, and these are all like Mr. Pod, Dirty Rotter, Squirrel Nutkin, Pigling Blaine, Mrs. Tiggy Winkle, just how the camel got his hump and how the monkey lost his rump, Mr. Toad, bless my soul, there is Mr. Rat, Mr. Mole, blah blah blah. So all these, I mean, these are all characters portrayed by this different writers of children. Okay, so, oh, books! What books they used to know? Those children living long ago. So these children, the writer has talked about these children, how they were living their lives. They were living their lives by reading a lot of books, and this is the case which was there long, long ago. So please, oh please, we beg, we pray, go throw your television set away, TV set away rather. So again, the writer has started praying the parents that they should throw their television set away from the children, from the eyesight of children, because that is something devastating to the life of the children. And in its place, you can install a lovely bookshelf on the wall. And the writer here, or the poet rather, again I'm forgetting again and again that this is poet, not the writer. Anyways, so the poet once again requesting the parents to install a lovely bookshelf where they can have a lot of books. Okay, and install, I have already given you so many synonyms for install, so I'm not talking about I'm not going to talk about install anymore, because I have given you many synonyms for that, so you can make use of them. So the writer, or the poet once again is asking the parents, or requesting the parents to have bookshelf in place of TV, okay, on the wall, and they then fill the shelves with lots of books, ignoring all the dirty looks. That means he's again asking the parents to keep a lot of books in those shelves, and they must ignore the dirty looks, the looks coming from the side of their children. Obviously, when the parents are going to throw the TV away and they're going to install the shelf in place of the TV, obviously, I mean, the children are going to be so they're going to be so violent. They're going to be so violent towards their parents. This is what the poet says. Actually, this does not happen literally, because it's not possible that children will do all these things the writer has talked about in advance. I mean, we are going to read all this here. Where is that? After dirty looks, yes, the screams and yells, the bites and kicks, and children hitting you with sticks. Obviously, this is not the case. Like, this can't happen, that children can beat their parents, children can bite and kick their parents. So these are all exaggeration. Obviously, mind you, these are all exaggeration. This is not the case. This is not, I mean, literally possible that children will kick or bite or hit their parents with a stick. So these are all exaggeration, nothing else. So you take care of this, and you can write this in your answer sheets also. And children hitting you with the sticks, fear not, fear not. The poet is asking the parents not to get afraid of all these things, because we promise, because the writer or the poet is assuring the parents that in about a week or two, or having nothing else to do, they will now begin to feel the need of having something to read. Now the writer, the poet, so cleverly is telling the parents that you guys, please don't be afraid of all these things, because as you throw the television away in such a situation, finding nothing to do, or having to do nothing, because television is nowhere in the scene, the children will again come to their normal position. Again, they will come to their normal habits, like finding. So here the writer wants to say that as the children will be left with no options, they will have only books with them, and they will be like sort of compelled to read the books all the time, and that is something which is quite beneficial for them. So let's read ahead. Let's go ahead. Where were we? Yes, yes, something to read. And once they start, oh boy, you watch the slowly growing joy. So again, the writer is trying to assure parents that in that case, when the children are left with no option, and they will be a kind of, it will become a kind of obligatory thing for them to read the books all the time, as there are no options in front of them. They will be left with no options rather than reading books. So one day will come that they will start taking a lot of interest in reading books, and they will start having a lot of joy out there that fills their hearts. They will grow so keen that the joy will their hearts will be filled with joy. They will grow so keen, that means they will grow so interested. Keen means interested in reading books. By that time, they will wonder what they had ever seen in that ridiculous machine, and they will also start wondering. Actually, they will also start getting surprised uh, as to what they had achieved out of watching TV all the time, and they were not these things which they are right now finding in the books, which right now they are having in the books. Now, in such a situation, the in such a situation, when the children will be left with no option, they will themselves start calling this idiotic box as ridiculous machine. Here the writer has said. See, they will wonder what they had ever seen in that ridiculous machine. So here the children will ultimately start calling this idiotic box as ridiculous machine. That means again the writer or the poet has given, I have already told you in the beginning of the poem that writer or the poet has given a lot of similar types of adjectives for this idiotic machine or television. That is, first he gave the adjective which was idiotic machine, and then ghastly junk and monster, and now here the next adjective is ridiculous machine. So let's see, and I mean some more are there, so let's see, there are some more adjectives, so you can write them down, the meanings also, and these adjectives at the time of your at the time you write the answers, at that time also you could refer to these adjectives, that the writer has given a lot of similar adjectives to television. So also let me give you the meanings of all these adjectives given by the writer. Okay, where is that? I'm not finding. So the first one is nauseating, that is feeling of disgust. I mean, ultimately the poet is saying that ultimately children will also be convinced that this television is nothing but a ridiculous machine. And you could write also this at the time of writing your answer, which is reference to context at the time of your examination. Come to that. Okay, so nauseating means feeling of disgust. They will also end up calling it ridiculous machine, that is nauseating. Nauseating means a feeling of disgust. Foul means rottening, something which is so rottening. Unclean, dirty. Repulsive, repulsive means intense disgust, or something which is I mean something which is a kind of thing which is having intense disgust or distaste. And later, each and every kid will love you more for what you did. And after everything happens, all these things, when parents throw their television away and get their children into the habit of reading books all the time, after that the children will also end up calling this television with all these adjectives which I have told you short while back. And also they will start loving their parents. They will also start like being a lot of I mean they will also start having a lot of gratefulness towards their parents, that they after all their parents are the persons who have got them into the habit of reading books, which is so important and which is something quite beneficial for their future as well as their present. So this is how the poem is ending over here by Roald Dahl. So once again, if you like my ways of teaching, my ways of explanation, my ways of I mean explaining things, so I just expect at least one thumbs up from your side. And also, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to it, and also share with your friends all my videos, all my contents of English literature world. And let's meet in the next video with some new chapter. Till then, bye bye.